Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my channel and to another of the Cozy Things chats. And I am thrilled today to be joined by my friend Emma from the channel Bookish Princess. Thank you, Emma, for joining me.
Yeah, it's so nice to be here. Why, hello, everyone. I'm so excited. I was so excited when you invited me to be on this because I love this series. It's just so wonderful to hear everyone's cozy things, and you've had such fun people on. So I was so honored to be asked.
Oh, lovely. And if for some reason you didn't know about Emma's channel, it will be linked down below. And it is just a sheer delight and a really eclectic mixture, which is fun. So yes, lots of a huge backlog of content to get to. And yes, so all very exciting. And I am really looking forward to hearing the list of cozy things that you have. So would you like to share your first cozy thing?
Definitely. So I was making my list and I decided, well, I'd start with books, for obvious reasons. And so this is technically kind of 3 items because I thought I'd kind of do my 3 favorite authors who I think are super cozy and wonderful. But like sort of the general genre is British literature. I just find that particular genre to be so cozy and relaxing, and
Yes.
it's just like the cups of tea and toast and the countryside and like the beautiful
Yes.
old houses and the history. When I was young, I was about like 2 or 3 when I first went to England. My mom and grandmother both loved Great Britain and like loved British literature. So I was kind of raised on it. And that is one of my earliest memories though of that trip to England. Like I can still remember the cottage that we stayed at a little bit. And so I feel like partly it's like these early memories of these trips. And then we went again when I was like 10. And like just the magic of that is in, British literature. And it's just, there's just such a wealth of it. I mean, obviously, like English is our native language, and I feel like you can pick up on the nuances of a book in your native language best. I mean, I love other translated fiction. Books from other cultures are like wonderful as well, but it's just easier in your own language to really hone in on all the subtleties that make a great book so great. So my top 3 authors are, no surprise, Jane Austen, Elizabeth Goudge, and P.G. Wodehouse. I love them because they're cozy, but I feel like they're also kind of challenging in their own way. Like, especially Jane Austen, her writing is so fine, that famous quote about like a fine brush on ivory. Like, even though I've read it so many times, like I always notice a sentence that had just completely escaped my attention before. And I think we went to years ago that Emma Day. That was so much fun.
So much fun.
And
I loved John Mullen being one of the speakers. And when he said, I noticed I think he said my 17th reread of Emma, something that I hadn't noticed before. And there's his book.
That's so fun. That's exactly, John Mullen was exactly who I was thinking of, because this is such a fun book. I feel like he talks about that in such a great way. And that was such a fun day, the way everyone felt the same way about Jane Austen. They all had read it like a dozen times. And
yes, it was so fun. And just to see kind of the depth that she does have in her books. And I think some people who have just seen, I even know people who have just seen like previews for the movies, haven't even watched the movies, and are just like, oh yeah, she writes romances. And like, she has, this cozy backdrop for her stories. Yes, it's beautiful and easy on the eyes when you watch it, but the themes that are there are so much deeper.
It's so beautiful. I did this series on my channel of Jane Austen character maps,
those are so fun.
Thank you. It was actually first inspired though when I was talking with some friends, and I was trying to describe the plot of Persuasion, and I had to draw a map for them. And like what you were saying, people are like, "Oh, it's just a romance," but like then sit down and try to explain it to someone, and it's like incredibly convoluted.
Yes.
The connections between the characters are just so wonderful, and she just had such an insight into human nature. Like,
yes,
it doesn't matter that 200 years have separated you. You like feel the same way, or like it's like the same, she describes the same thing that you've experienced. So
yes. And I know on the Bonnets at Dawn podcast, they had an episode on Northanger Abbey. And what made it really fun is that they spoke about the specific castle that John and is it Isabella? Is that
Isabella's his sister, Isabella Thorpe.
Yes, that they want to go visit, that they want Kathy to go visit. And it was like a fake castle. It had been made within the last 100 years to look a lot older than it was. So then you're like, it's this tacky tourist site that they want to go see. And so things that I would never have known that had I not, heard from people who had studied it in depth. And also what I love is that Mansfield Park, it was just waiting for me to love it. I read it, several years back and just kind of wrote it off. And it is one of the lesser popular ones. And then just last summer, it was just like magic, something clicked. And so that was a really exciting experience to come to love one that I hadn't loved previously.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how some books are like that. It's like they're sort of waiting for you. Like you read them the first time, you're like, I don't care for that. And then you read them years later and you're like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this?
Yes. Well, and then I guess, speaking of Elizabeth Goudge, I am currently reading Green Dolphin Street. Have you read that one?
Yes, that's a challenge. That's a long one. How is it going? How is your stamina holding up?
You know what? I am absolutely loving it. I was a little bit scared because it was longer. And I know that we did a buddy read of The Child from the Sea a few years ago, and I petered out on that one. But this one feels a bit more plot driven. But something that's so interesting that I found out about from her autobiography, which, have you finished that now? I know you recently bought it.
Yes. Yeah, I have. That's
okay.
So good.
About the people complaining about the plot of Green Dolphin Street. And she's like, actually happened in real life. And, and I was a little bit annoyed that I was spoiled for a bit of the plot before, but now I'm glad I have that. So I can be like, okay, no, this was a situation that actually happened.
Yeah, I like that. It's like, no, I can't even take credit for inventing that, as extraordinary as it is.
Yes, truth is sometimes stranger than fiction. But I mean, Elizabeth Goudge, what is it in particular that you think kind of is a highlight for you of her writing?
I mean, I love her characters and like her connection to history. And it's so fun the way her characters, you see like through their eyes so thoroughly, but like she makes them all relatable. Like I feel like it helps you understand other people better, because maybe you like never understood that person, you didn't get their perspective, but that Elizabeth Goudge kind of shows that spark within them, because the spiritual and inner lives of the characters are always so important to the plot, which can sometimes lead to things like Child from the Sea, or I was realizing I just finished rereading the Desmarais trilogy, and it's wonderful, but the last one, Heart of the Family, is more of like a inner struggles, like much action, same characters you loved, but like not so much plot. And it is nicer when she can work in a little bit more action.
Yes, I know. I remember not enjoying the third one as much, unfortunately. It's still Elizabeth Goudge and it's her marvelous writing. But that's actually, unfortunately, I did not really get on with The Dean's Watch, which I know is very beloved by her. But for some reason, that one I felt kind of like I was not in on what every other reader was in on as they were reading it. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes you need to be in the right mood for it too. Like some of them are more serious and more heavy, but like others are kind of brighter. Like City of Bells is my favorite. I feel like that's perfect tone. Like it's got a bookshop that is so cozy, reading about how they set up the bookshop and like putting all the books on the shelves. And I think they like built shelves into a bay window, like all the descriptions of the decor, as well as the characters and the history. I love how like she kind of weaves in the people from the past, or like the history of the cathedral and the person who built it. And she really makes you see how like the people of the past, like what they did is still alive in some ways, like the energy that they had when they inhabited a house. Like that was in Desmarais, that like the sacrifices they made and that spirit of selflessness, like made the house a sort of strong place in this. It's not like I feel like it is kind of mystical, but it's not like supernatural, weird, mystical. It's like meaningful, beautiful.
Yes. Well, and also realizing the spiritual significance of being faithful in your mundane everyday tasks, how that really does matter. And the phrase that I learned from Sarah Clarkson, pushing back the darkness by just the good that you are putting into the world and just bringing beauty, it really is significant. And so that is a really just meaningful aspect of her books.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful idea. I think Jordan Peterson put it that like you can either tilt the world towards good or towards evil with what you do. And
yes,
you totally see that in Elizabeth Goudge, like all the implications for all the characters, this like tiny decision that then impacts other people hugely.
Yes, yes. And also I love that he says, another quote from him is talking about how you can make a tragic situation more tragic, or you can make it less tragic, something really hard that you're living through. And it really, your choices matter. And I think that is empowering. And now Island Magic is one you haven't read by her yet, right?
Oh, that it might be the last. It's not quite the last one. There are a couple of children's books. Because I know there's one, I think it's upstairs, that I own that I haven't read yet. I don't think I own Island Magic. I need to get on that. The beautiful Hotter books. I don't think they printed Island Magic. So that's like one that I don't know.
They did not. Maybe they will in the future, because I mean, it's in print with is it Hendrickson?
Right, Hendrickson and Hodgson.
Yeah, I feel like hopefully they would put it in their edition, because anyone who will watch Emma's channel, you'll see I love that. What are the bookshelves? Are they easel bookshelves? What are they?
They are, yeah, like ladder bookshelves, I think is the
ladder. Yeah,
right. That's why I keep looking over here to my
yes, yeah.
My laptop or computer is not in a very good space. But
yes, you need Island Magic in that edition to put up there. But that one is a more lighthearted one, and it's a little short gem that really packs a punch. I like that one, and I think you'll enjoy it. And one of my favorite scenes in that is when one of the daughters, she's kind of like got angsty middle child syndrome, which I had as a child. And she has really found her purpose in reading the poetry of Robert Browning, and feels just so much, she's driven. And so every morning she tells her mother, like, you don't have to get up with us for school anymore. I will get everyone ready. Like, this is my big sacrifice I'm going to make. And she'll wake her siblings up quoting Robert Browning poetry to them. And the one sister she goes, oh, do shut up. So it's not really appreciated by her siblings, but it's written. So I love that book. Has a lot of humor coming through in it, even though there are some more serious elements to it. And then PG Wodehouse, who I love whenever my husband reads him, he cackles and like laughs himself to tears just because of the outrageousness. And would you agree that PG Wodehouse you kind of know that even there are a lot of things that are going to go wrong for a bit, it's safe overall in the end?
Yes, you're absolutely right. He's going to take care of his characters, and that all the good ones it's going to work out for them. And even the bad ones is probably going to be fine. Yeah, but
yes,
like the one of the few books, I feel like I don't laugh out loud while reading books that often, but PG Wodehouse is definitely one of them where you have to laugh out loud, because the scenarios are so absurd, and like unexpected, and just I love the way he turns everything on its head, and makes those stressful situations laughable. Like everything's going wrong, but somehow you're laughing. It's a great kind of life lesson.
Yes. Now, do you enjoy the Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie miniseries adaptation?
I haven't watched it too much. No, I mostly stick to the books. I don't know how I just never. Is it on Amazon Prime or not?
It used to be, and it's not anywhere now. Your library might have the DVDs. We own the DVDs. That's how we watch them. And what's fun is actually my husband and I kind of started a honeymoon tradition where we watched Jeeves and Wooster on our honeymoon. And then when my sister got married, she's like, I want to do that. And then when my brother got married, he's like, I want to do that. So we all took the DVDs with us on our honeymoons.
That's adorable.
Yeah. And I mean, the actress particularly who plays, the ones that stick out to me are Aunt Agatha, Honoria Glossop, a sturdy girl. She's wonderful. And then they have two different actors for Gussie Finknottle. And the one that is there for the Newt episode with the Newt dance is just really phenomenal.
I have to watch this. I've seen clips on YouTube, but I've just never gotten a hold of like the full episodes. I'll have to look in my library because that would be really fun.
Yes, I think you would enjoy them. And so do you prefer Jeeves and Wooster or Blandings, or are they kind of tied?
Well, Smith is actually my favorite.
Oh,
Of course. He's got the best insouciance, and I love his series. There are only like 4 or 5, and a couple of them. The first one, Mike and Smith, is the school stories, which I enjoy those too, even with all the cricket, even though I don't really understand cricket.
but if it's written in a writing style that you get on with, you'll find it interesting.
And then like he goes to America for one of them. I think that was Smith in the City. I love those. Although then I feel like with Blandings and Birdie and Jeeves, I love those as well. But like I kind of love them equally. I don't have a preference. But yeah, it's so fun how smart the characters are. I mean, like Jeeves is always reading Spinoza, but like even Birdie, like he's always quoting half of a quotation from something that Jeeves finishes for him. And it's just so funny because like you always want to stop and be like, wait, what is that from? Like Shakespeare, or it's just something incredible.
Yes. It's funny. There are some surprising references in there.
But he like weaves it in so perfectly, and then he also uses the most absurd slang, and like it all feels so perfectly natural and of a piece. It's really wonderful.
Yes, it's a very unique world.
Yeah, I've been reading this gardening biography of not Beatrix Potter. It's Frances Hodgson Burnett. It's by Marta McDowell, and she also wrote a gardening biography of Beatrix Potter. And the Frances Hodgson Burnett one, I've just been loving so much. And she rented for about 10 years a beautiful estate in England called Maytham Hall. And there were some sketches of like the Maytham Maniacs, and like they had these like great house parties, and it just totally sounded like something out of Jeeves and Wooster.
Oh, that is so fun. And you know what else I think you would enjoy sometime is the Maud and Illustrated Diary of a Victorian Lady, which is, she was an amateur painter, and it's just her diary entries about her day-to-day life. But she has friends like Stakey is his nickname, and I can't remember what his actual name is, but all of the nicknames. And then it's fun because it's just got these beautiful watercolor illustrations throughout. And her family was more wealthy, so she had the freedom to kind of just go hang out with her friends and socialize. And it makes me kind of think of them.
Oh, how cool. Yeah, there's so many books. I was watching your April wrap up the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, my TBR always grows every time I watch one of your videos.
Well, and I feel the same way about your videos. So yeah, I look forward to hearing more about that Frances Hodgson Burnett biography. That sounds.
I didn't expect to like love it as much as I did. It's been so much fun kind of getting to know her better.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, shall we move on to cozy thing number 2?
Yes. So, or / number 4, since I kind of the first 3 were 3 authors.
I see.
If we're doing a list of 10, otherwise it's a list of 8 or whatever. Anyway, this is like sort of related to books too, but I thought I'd kind of categorize it as armchair travel. So I love to travel, but when you're like actually on a trip, it can be pretty stressful. Like it's not really cozy. It's not the word to describe it.
That's very true.
But like when you're planning the trip, it's so exciting. Or like I love watching travel vlogs on YouTube of Japan and Korea and like all over the globe. It's just so fun to like sit down and see what that place is like and like learn more about the different culture. And like books too, obviously, or like travel magazines. I just love it's a funny dichotomy though, because like you would think, oh, I want to go there, I want to see that, and like you probably would get a lot out of going there and seeing that. Like it's not that you shouldn't go and see it in person, but it's not going to be as like cozy and comfortable when you're there. Like in British books, I love the train journeys, and actually train journeys can sometimes be very restful and cozy in real life. But I've also known some like sort of nightmarish train journeys where you like can't find a place to sit, and like it's just a funny. It's much more cozy to sit and read about it or think about it or watch someone else do it. It's really YouTube is so amazing the way you can like get a glimpse of every corner of the world, like totally authentic first person. Sometimes you really have to dig to find it, but
Yeah, no, it is. I remember thinking that in a couple of trips that I've done, like, "Oh, this is really tiring." So my husband and I have talked about with my chronic illness, just doing like a 2 week trip somewhere is not that's not going to happen. But at some point in the future, especially since we homeschool, what if we could get an Airbnb for like a month somewhere? So this would be like way down the road, but we talked about that's how, if I'm going to do traveling, that's how it will be. But I think you kind of want to get like the most of your time when you're in another place and you want to see all the sights. So yeah, that's funny because you have traveled a fair amount, but you're like, it's not as cozy as just watching travel vlogs.
Or you know what? Afterwards is when it's cozy. After the fact,
Yes.
like I always am trying to film and take photos. So like sitting down and editing the video afterwards, or like doing scrapbook layout, or like using maybe some like mug or something that I got. Like that's when travel becomes cozy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
really love in Betsy in the Great World. She seems to enjoy herself most when she's just staying in a place for a while. And she has people to spend time with. It's she gets all flustered when she's going and trying to catch different trains. And yeah, that seems to be more enjoyable, just kind of staying somewhere for a while.
Yeah, definitely. I like what you said with like staying in one place, but like being tempted to do things is so like whenever I have a long trip, I'm like, oh, I'll just stay here for a week. But then you're like, but then I wouldn't be able to see this place and this place and this place.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I guess you just have to figure out what works best for you in the moment.
Yes.
I know some parents that they talked about when they went to Disney. I thought it was smart. They would do a day at the park and then just a day at the resort, at the pool. And they felt like that was a good rhythm for their trip. Because I know when I've been to Disney, like I've never seen so many toddler tantrums in one place. And there's so many parents that will just push their kids
The
to
magical
do,
meltdowns, they're
yeah,
real.
yeah, just you gotta pace yourself or just wait till they're older. And yeah.
For sure. Well, actually, speaking of that, another thing on my list was Disney resorts. I think are super cozy. Like you said, like the parks are fun, they're full of action, but like it's when you're back at the resorts, chilling, that
Yes.
it's just so nice. And I think that is one of the reasons my family likes to stay club level, which it's so ironic though, because it is more expensive, but you like get a lounge and like food. My brother has been a cast member, so he has discounts when we stay with him. So like I feel like that's what lets us do club level. But yeah, it's just so nice. The resorts are so beautifully themed and like so immersive. Like the Animal Kingdom Lodge, you feel like you're in Africa. You go down to the Sunset Lounge and you read about Martin and Osa Johnson, these cool explorers, and like see their
Yes.
photos. And it's just like it's like a museum. There's so many exhibits, and it's just wonderful to like just slow it down and spend the day at the resorts. I almost feel like when I think of Disney World, I think more of the resorts than the parks. It's kind of funny, but they're just so relaxing, and the soundtracks are so wonderful. That's one of my go-tos when I'm like working or like just doing chores and want something on in the background is like the Disney, like they have most of them on YouTube, every different
That's
resort.
awesome. Yeah. And I think I think people just forget like Disney puts so much attention to detail in every last aspect of their resorts along with their parks. And yeah, just they make them warm and inviting places. And now since, watching some of your vlogs traveling to the different just resorts, I've thought if I go back to Disney, I want to just, kind of hop between the resorts that I'm able to, and just because there's such a different feel to each one.
Yeah, it's just so fun. Like when you're on the monorail, say, and like you're just going by the Magic Kingdom, it's like you do feel this little bit of a pull. Oh, I could go in there and do fun stuff, but it's also kind of relaxing. It's like, no, I'm just gonna whiz through the Contemporary and see the Mary Blair's Grand Canyon mural, and yeah, just so many
Oh,
beautiful kind of works of art. They are works of art. A lot of the different
yeah.
spaces
Yeah.
that they put so much thought into, and I mean, they kind of are like travel. Like the Wilderness Lodge is based on the Old Faithful Lodge at Yellowstone. Oh my goodness, isn't old? Oh my goodness, I'm getting
I
confused.
think it's at Yellowstone.
Those great parks out there. It's Yellowstone. The big geyser, but there's this gorgeous lodge. It's like 100 years old, beautifully built, and like they use inspiration. So when they made the Wilderness Lodge, so they really like did their homework and
Yeah.
kind of took inspiration from all over the world and just put it all there in one place.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, speaking of all over the world, would you ever want to go to like Disneyland Paris, or is there one, is it Tokyo?
Yeah, so there's Tokyo Disney and Hong Kong Disney now. And I have actually been to Disneyland Paris and I did enjoy it.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I didn't remember that.
It was a long time ago. And you know what, actually, was it before I started blogging? I might have written about it on my blog like years ago, but I don't think I have any Disneyland Paris videos. But it was a winter trip and it was actually like freezing cold.
Oh no.
Like you couldn't get warm, and it was not. I need to go back there sometime on a warm day to really.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know. I've only been 2 times, but one of the 2 times we went in December to Disney World, and that was really fun because it's still very clement, that time of year. But I could see if it was cold, there's only so much you can bundle up.
Are a lot cold. It was so crazy to see like little kids in ski jumpsuits, like you'd never see that in Disney World in Florida.
Yes. Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, I would love to go to Tokyo Disney someday.
Oh yeah.
Because it just looks like they have a lot of stuff that's very distinct from the Florida park. Like Disney Sea, and just they always have the neatest merch and food, and I would love to go. I would love to go to Japan and Korea. That's where I'd really love to go.
Yes.
Go sometime because there's just so much to do there, and like Tokyo Disney is just like one of them. My brothers and I also want to go to. My brothers love Nintendo, and there's a Nintendo park there that looks just like next level.
Yes.
Like you stepped into Mario World or whatever.
I've watched some videos of it and it looks so surreal. So now if you had to pick it's your last day and you're going to go to do, this is very specific, but you're going to pick one park and one thing to do. What would you pick?
One park and one thing to do. Well, I feel like Magic Kingdom does have the most to do and is like the most classic. So I'd have to go to the Magic Kingdom. And then like if I did one ride there, see, I always feel like I should pick one of the like high ticket rides for that. But like I love like It's a Small World. I always want to go on like drag my family. It's so cute. One year at the Halloween party, I did like one of the dolls' dresses I remade as my costume.
It's so fun.
And just the costumes are so beautiful. That's just such a sweet ride, and you don't have to worry about it having a long line. So.
No, you don't. That's true. That's true. And now, do you think maybe possibly this year you would go to the Halloween party?
I don't think we're gonna do it this year. We do have a Disney trip planned for the summer. So that should be fun. It'll just be a couple days, but I do want to do the Halloween party again someday though. I'd love to do Star Wars costumes with like my whole family, all of us in Star Wars, because we all love Star Wars, but we've never all together done that. We've like singly, like one of my brothers was Obi-Wan, one of my brothers was Luke, but the group costumes at the Halloween party are so much fun too.
That would be really fun. Well, I hope you're able to in the future.
Thanks.
So are we at cozy thing number 5?
I think so. So, well, maybe since we were talking about Nintendo, I'll add Animal Crossing to this list. I just find Animal Crossing to be so cozy. It is kind of ironic because I have 4 brothers and they are all very much into video games. Growing up, like they were much more into them than I was. I would sometimes play them. And I did play Animal Crossing on like the N64 or the Switch. I did play it in the past. But my brothers had all gotten this new Switch console when it came out, and they were like, oh, you should get one to play these games. And it wasn't until Animal Crossing came out on Switch that I finally got a Switch and got it. It's funny, I don't think I expected to like it as much as I did, but like it's just so fun. You can like completely customize your outdoor spaces and indoor spaces. Like I think of it as sort of a digital dollhouse game.
That's totally it. Yes.
So it's just so fun. And like, if you get tired of something, you can like tear the mountains down and fill in the rivers and like completely redesign it. And
That's
you know,
awesome.
cute characters. And actually, I do like the Pocket Camp is a free version of it for your phone, and that one I do enjoy.
Oh,
But yeah, I really, it's funny because I felt like for the longest time I was like, video games, that's for my brothers, and now I'm like the biggest Animal Crossing fan. Yeah, it's just really fun, and it's fun to watch videos of other people's creations online too. Get so much inspiration, and like I mean, a little, in some ways it's a little bit intimidating because like I couldn't spend that much time on it, the amount of time that must have taken. But it's really beautiful, and in a lot of ways it does kind of inspire you to go out and do real world things, like you know, you plant your garden in Animal Crossing and then you're like, oh, I should go water my plants, you know, or like I often will buy things that I'm like, oh, that's just like the one I have in Animal Crossing. It'd be great.
that's so funny. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I remember after seeing your bookshelves that you had made. I knew my one cousin, like she loved Animal Crossing, and I told her, she's like, oh, how did she make bookshelves? Like how did she do that? She was very impressed. And you know what? I feel like also it's a more whimsical version of The Sims.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I never played The Sims, but like, yeah, the whimsy of it is like the things the characters say are so quirky sometimes, and like just make you laugh. And yeah, it's the perfect escape.
Yeah, I know that I was obsessed with Sims Theme Park. And you could make, I forget, there was one that was kind of like a Halloween type theme. And that was my favorite one. And I was just, it was very fun just to build up a theme park. Although it was
Roller Coaster Tycoon. I do remember that one.
Yes, we had that one as well. And it was also part of the game that like people would get sick to their stomach after having like too much park food, and then the janitors would have to go and clean it up.
Magical meltdowns in the video game.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I would like at some point, I think it'd be fun when my boys are older for us to get switches that can hook up to the TV, because they don't have their own devices at this point, and we're very happy that way. But I do like the idea of if it can hook up to the TV, then it will feel more of like a family activity to do together. Yeah, so we'll have to see what we do.
Yeah, no, that's so smart though. I feel like, you know, we didn't have, or well, I did have a Game Boy, but like, yeah, it was always, it's good to like put limits on it because it's easy to get carried away.
Yeah, and it's just very like, I feel like it's just fights that we don't have to have. Like we have an iPad mini and he listens to audiobooks on there. And he does, if he gets like this is my older one, Peter, if he gets 2 or fewer problems wrong on his math worksheet, then he can play an hour of an app. So there is like a device, but he doesn't view it as like his own. So hopefully he won't start to do that.
Smart.
Everything's just simpler this way. Definitely. Well, are we on to cozy thing number 6?
Yeah. So, well, in Animal Crossing, you can build beautiful gardens, but real life gardening is something that I've really been getting into recently. I moved into this farmhouse about a year and a half ago, and it has like a little yard, and it's just surrounded by beautiful hills and fields. But it's been really fun to just experiment with gardening in my yard. Last year, I had some beautiful sunflowers that came up. And it's just so cozy and relaxing. And I feel like it clears your mind really well when you just, you know, leave your phone behind and you're digging in the dirt and watering things and like peering at the plants. Like, how are you feeling? What do you need? Water or not water? Maybe you don't want water. It's been really fun. It's funny how it feels miraculous, even though it's the most everyday thing. Like when you take these like impossibly tiny seeds in your hand, I always feel like sort of somehow depressed when I plant them. Like pessimistic is the word. Like these are not going to come up. They're so small. Like what am I even doing? Why did I spend money on this? But then they do come up, and it's just such a joy. Like last year. It was just so wonderful to be like, I planted these and they're here,
So
they're
cool.
flowering. So yes, I've sort of expanded my gardening plans this year. It's funny, I was like thinking about it all through like January and February. I was like, okay, I'm going to do a raised bed for these bulbs, and we're going to try, I want to try to do some clinging vines around my pillars. I have a whole bunch of morning glory sprouts. My mom also loves to garden, so it's fun. We kind of trade things. I recently bought an elephant ear, which is like such a beautiful, I can't believe they grow here in the Northeast where it's cold. Like you think they'd only grow in tropical climates, but the last year, my mom's elephant ear, like it was like an Animal Crossing. You can make a leaf umbrella. It was literally like an Animal Crossing leaf umbrella.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So yeah, I have an elephant ear this year. And yeah, it's just such a cozy thing to get into. I feel like for the longest time, I was kind of maybe intimidated by like, oh, it's just not going to grow, or I don't have the space for it. But like, even if it is a small space, that Frances Hodgson Burnett book I'm reading, she loved gardens. And the garden it made them was like spectacular. And she wrote like a little sort of treatise on gardening and was saying how even if you just have a small space, like anyone can find some room to garden. And it is fun to like find the plants that you like best, or the plants that are happiest, because there are definitely plants that are not happy. That's like, why did you die? I gave you everything.
You say it's kind of miraculous when they pop up, but I do also think you seem fairly skilled. Like you have a bit of a green thumb. You have inspired me this year. We did plant some morning glories, and do you say them? Do you say it lupin or lupine?
I say lupine, but okay, I could be wrong.
I've actually only seen it written. I never hear someone say it. So we'll go with lupine. I don't know if they're going to come up. We're just going to have to wait and see. And also I just went crazy and planted watermelon. I'm like, the worst that can happen is it won't come up. That side of the house does tend to get a lot of light. And Peter's very excited about getting to water the watermelon. But have you followed, there's an account on Instagram called Nauticulture. And what I love is she lives in a flat in England, and her balcony is just filled with plants. So she's really given herself this green space, even though she doesn't have a yard. And I think it's really cool how she's transformed just her balcony into a garden.
I'm going to have to look that up. That's so fun. I do love like British gardening books, like Beverly Nichols and Old Herbaceous. Like it's so fun to, I feel like for the longest time, I just read those gardening books and didn't actually really have my own garden. So it's been really fun to try it. And I guess I should say it's not always cozy. Like the other day I was like, there are all these dandelion weeds, and I was thinking like, why do these grow so well when the things that I plant?
Dandelions they're unbelievable. Like we will have mown the yard and the next day they're like 4 inches tall already. It is, I mean, somebody should just grow a dandelion garden and then and just they won't have to tend to it at all.
Yeah, and it's like the birds and animals don't eat them, whereas the animals, like they started digging up my bulbs, and I was like, no, don't get out of there.
Yeah, we actually have a lot of bunnies that visit our yard, and I'm like, I don't know how, I think you're very cute now, but are you going to eat, if the watermelon does succeed, are you just going to eat the watermelon? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, are we on to cozy thing number 7?
Yes. So I thought I would put this one in because it's another one that I only discovered recently, but kittens are very cozy, and cats. I was never a cat person. In fact, we only had like fish growing up, but in September, a little kitten appeared out in my yard. So random. I don't know where the rest of her family was. But she was like so sweet, and she wasn't scared of me. And like, I didn't really know what to do. I was like, what am I supposed to do? So at first I left her alone because I guess the mother cat does sometimes come back. So, but then the next morning she was just like, aren't you going to help me? So I was like, okay, I think you need some help. And it just has been such a journey of learning and like a whole new world, raising a kitten. And my mom and I, like, we say that she has sort of untouchable coziness, because when you look at a cat sleeping, especially the kitten when she's so tiny, it is like the sweetest thing. Like your head just melts. And like sometimes she's curled up like a croissant, sometimes she's all stretched out. Like she's just so luxurious, just like enjoying herself as much as anyone could enjoy anything. A cat enjoys sleeping, but like and she's still like this to a certain extent now, and especially when she was little. The instant she hears the door turn, she's like, "Are we playing? What's happening? I'm awake. I wasn't asleep." So it's funny, that first day when she arrived, I had a box for her and like was feeding her and was like chatting with a cousin like who had the same thing happen, and like, you know, getting some tips.
So funny.
And Cymbeline climbed up in my lap and like, and then when I tried to take her out, she like put her claws in and wouldn't leave, and it was very sweet. But like that was almost the only time that happened voluntarily. Occasionally she will still sleep in my lap, but usually like I have to kind of invite her up, and like she has to be in the right mood for it. Maybe she doesn't want to, maybe she runs away.
Yeah, it's very it very much depends on the cat. I have loved following the adventures of Cymbeline. It has been so fun. And yeah, she just seems like a very cozy companion to have. What's funny is my brother and sister-in-law, their cat is so social. And they went on a trip and they left her at my parents' house when we were living there. And kind of during like nap time, the boys were up resting, I was up resting, and she realized no one was there to pay attention to her. This cat is like a year old and she goes, meow, meow, like looking around for a companion.
Oh my God. It is amazing how like they're as different as people. Like, you know, yes. You can't go by, I mean, like you can learn a lot about cats, but what your cat wants is going to be different from what somebody else wants.
Yes.
Like Cymbeline just wants to be outside. Like while she was growing and like, you know, before she got fixed and when it was cold, it was like, I'm sorry that I have to, like, I almost felt like apologizing to her. Like, I know you want to be out there. And now that it's warm, she's just like, you know, when I look at her, I like feel like she's inherited her kingdom. You know, she just is like living the best life and running.
Yes. Yeah, I think it really is ideal that you found her when you had moved to the farmhouse. And I was thrilled with your morning vlog that you had yesterday that came out. You are kind of toying with writing a book about you and Cymbeline.
Yes, that's the plan. I was thinking if I say it in a vlog, then I'll like be committed to doing it. So I'm hoping to finish it in September because I thought it'd be fun, like since that's when she arrived. But yeah, I'm planning to do like some sketches, and I have kind of started it. So I just need to really buckle down and get it done. It won't be like super long. I feel like if I want to do like another installment of it later, I could. But yes. It's be like when she arrives. My mom is constantly saying, that should go in your book of Cymbeline. It's like so many just funny little quirky incidents with her that just make you laugh. So
yes. Oh, I would love to follow that too. Like if you do other installments down the line. Yeah, I feel like there's kind of endless material with such a very robust and active cat as Cymbeline.
Yeah, such an opinionated cat as Cymbeline.
Well, are we on to cozy thing number 8?
I think so. So I had to put these guys in here. My 7 brothers from Seoul. Bangtan Sonyeondan, that's the meaning behind the name BTS, which is a Korean pop band. They started, I kind of like them because they started the same year my YouTube channel started. So I almost feel like we have a connection through that. But yeah, they are like globally super popular now. But I just have found them to be so enjoyable and so cozy, and like they truly do feel like my brothers. You know, like the energy between the 7 of them is kind of the same as the energy between me and my brothers. So I just love watching like their videos. They just have so many ways they connect with fans, because like obviously they put out albums and like really incredible music and like incredible music videos with like dance. Yes. The dance sequences are insane. That was one of the first things that blew me away. I was like, this looks like a dance troupe, not a singing group, you know? Like I've never even seen choreography like this. I like the 7 of them are so perfectly in sync. one of the first music videos I watched was DNA, and there's this one part where they all come together and join hands, like kind of intertwined, and like they like move in a really interesting way. And I feel like that is actually sort of symbolic of them as a group. Like they actually are that committed to each other. Like they've worked alongside each other for all these years, and like they are family, they are brothers, and like they're so interconnected, but like they're also individually so unique and interesting and fun, that like getting to know them is really what makes, I mean, I love their music and their dancing too. They're insane. It's like that goes without saying, but it is sort of that cozy atmosphere of just like hanging out with your family. They have like travel videos. They're called Bon Voyage, like these travel series they've done. And like they do a variety show called Run BTS that you can watch as well.
And are these on YouTube?
Most of them are. So some of it is paid content. Bon Voyage is paid content. Run BTS is actually on a site called VLive, which lots of different Korean pop groups use this as a live streaming service. So sometimes they'll stream a live video and chat with their fans. But the Run BTS videos are also, you can watch those for free. There are some ads, but they're free on that. But then their YouTube channel, Bangtan TV, they do have tons of vlogs there too. They're often like shorter, just like a couple minutes. And they have like little snippets and previews of other things like the Bon Voyage travel videos. Yeah, it's really amazing how like, it just feels like they invite you into their family. You know, they call their fans army. And at first I was like, that's kind of goofy. Like, what is this? But like, it feels so authentic. And like, there's such a volume of content that, you know, you watch all of it and you're like, there's no way you could be this fake for this long. Like you guys are as awesome as you seem. And like their hard work is also so inspiring that, you know, they're always, because you couldn't do those dance sequences if you weren't, or like sing those songs or put out this volume of creative output. Yeah. And also they're classy. I love that. I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily call everything they put out family friendly. Like you wouldn't want to let your kid loose in it, but like if you curated it, like overall it is basically family friendly, most of it. Which I really appreciate, because some musicians these days are not like that, like popular ones, you know, they're cursing in videos and you know, BTS do have some songs with cursing, but like just as a whole, I feel like they're really classy, which I really appreciate that they like maintain that for their fans. So.
Maybe part of it too is I feel like in Korean culture, there's kind of a higher standard for what's acceptable in music and art and in the dramas that I've watched, which I appreciate that. And that's, you know, my husband and I have spoken before about shame being such a theme in Korean dramas. And we're like, we could do with more shame where we live. Like people talk, I forget, maybe was it even Jordan Peterson? He said, you know, have you ever met someone who's shameless? Like, it's not good. So people are very condemn, you know, the theme of shame, but I think you should have kind of this high standard for your ethics.
Yeah, that is so insightful. I never thought of it like that way, but like I can totally see it. Yeah. Well,
was that your last cozy thing, or do you have one more?
Do I have one more? I think I might have one more. I did have one other written down here, and it was slow living vlogs. So I guess this kind of ties into armchair travel, although it's more like the indoors, inside, like housemaking, homemaking. Probably partly because I got into BTS, I now get recommended all of these Korean videos. And I think that's probably how I originally found them, because a lot of them are like Korean and Japanese, and they like often don't even show their face, but like it's just a relaxing video of them around the house. It's kind of like the Disney resort background tracks. They're like, I often put it on in the background. It's just like a sort of great kind of ambiance, and you often get ideas of like, oh, I could, you know, add something to this corner, like what they're doing, or sometimes there are a couple I like to follow that are cafe workers. Like there's so many genres of YouTube. Like you find them and you're like, how did I not know about this? Like, but like literally a cafe worker day in the life, going in, baking their cake, like putting icing on, and it's just so relaxing. And like, sometimes you then have to bake something, but or go out to a cafe yourself. But it's just,
oh, I would love to. If you could later send me the link to the cafe slow living channel, and I'll make sure to include it in the description.
Yeah,
That sounds
I'll
so
send you the one.
interesting.
There's one I've been watching recently, and then I just kind of randomly click on others. But there's some that are like 3-hour baking compilation of like different bakeries in like Seoul or in Tokyo. And like literally they're just making like donuts, and they're making like these insane cakes that is
Oh, that's I love, there's a channel called Jacond Baking. And that is, you don't see their face at all. But they make the most, I mean, they look magnificent. And they'll make like layers of different colored jelly and put it in the fridge, and then they'll wait a half hour, but this is all, sped up. And then they'll come back and then they'll add another layer, like a custard layer, really not at all like desserts that I'm familiar with. They don't feel very American. So it's cool too, because I'm like, oh, maybe this could be something different I could make. Yeah, those are fun.
One I feel like she's slow living. Lizzie Chi is a Chinese blogger who
Yes.
I absolutely love, and like she's a gardener, like she's so connected to the
Yes.
earth, and like she makes literally everything from scratch, and it just makes you appreciate things more. Like,
Yes.
oh, that's how my tea leaves were picked and dried and cooked and dried again, and like
Yes.
the whole process.
Yes.
Is so beautiful.
I know that when we first got our smart TV, that her videos were some of the first that I put on, and my whole family, we just sat there silently, like in awe of just the sheer beauty of the videos. Oh, well, this has been such a delight, and thank you very much, Emma, for joining me. And I will make sure to include everything in the description down below.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been just a blast.